We'll be starting in just a minute. Okay, I'm going to get started here. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today, which is talking about how you can drive a modern contact center using Skype for Business, using a set of services provided by Five9. What we learned today is how you can drive customer engagement with Five9's cloud contact center product line. We'll hear from one of their customers, a large medical organization that replaced their legacy center with a Five9 solution. Learn a little bit about the relationship between customer satisfaction and the time to resolve issues. We'll wrap up with some insights into what's happening in the cloud contact center area. We have three panelists today. We have Blair Pleasant, who's a contact center expert and analyst with UCStrategies and Confusion. We have Darryl Addington, who's a director of product marketing at Five9, and Corey Cross was heavily involved in the implementation at Amsurg of the Five9 technology with Skype for Business. He's a systems engineer there. So I think I would turn it over now to Darryl.
Great, Peter. Thank you. Yeah, super excited about the webinar today. We're going to start off in terms of flow. We're going to start off with a few slides around Five9 and the virtual contact center and how we've integrated into Skype, as well as a few other capabilities. Then Corey and I are going to talk about the implementation that they did with Five9 and how that went, and the things that were good, the things that were maybe not so good. You know, he'll give us the full scoop on how that all went. And then Blair is going to take us through a really fantastic set of slides around how to leverage this integration, how to leverage folks in other parts of the business to better serve the customer, to provide better customer satisfaction. So I'm totally stoked. We actually wanted to start off, Peter, if we could, with a quick poll to the audience. So if you could throw that up. This is just to kind of level set and get an idea of the folks that we have out there today. How many of you are currently using a on-premises contact center, or the reverse of that actually? Are you currently using a cloud-based contact center? So there's three choices here. One is yes, you are using a cloud-based contact center. The second one is no, we're using an on-premises based contact center currently, but we plan to move to a cloud-based contact center this year. And then the third is we currently have no plans to use a cloud-based contact center. And of course, cloud-based contact center is the same set of capabilities that a contact center would run, but all as a service out of the cloud, rather than as a set of software that you install on servers and configure and then maintain. So what do you think, Blair? Do you think what do you think the mix is going to be here? Do you think the majority will be using a cloud-based contact center or on-premises?
Well, if you look at the installed base right now, it would be primarily premises-based, but the numbers show that more and more people are going to be deploying. When it comes to new systems, they're going to be looking at cloud-based contact centers. So probably the majority are using premises-based right now, but I would assume are planning to move to cloud contact-based center in the near future, whether that's 1 year or... Okay, Peter?
And the answer is...
Okay, interesting. So it looks like about 33% are currently using a cloud-based contact center. The 13% are planning on moving this year, and 53%. That seems high to me, but what can I say? Maybe that third question we could have reworded it a bit, because plans mean that you've got a strategy or a fixed date in mind. Yeah.
I would imagine that more people are going to have plans for a cloud-based contact center, just maybe, not for this year, but maybe, 2-3 years out.
We are going for our, we are doing our 2018 planning at Five9 right now, and a number of areas. On the product side, we're all set, but in any case, a lot of companies probably do that. So let's move into
and I have, Darryl, this is Peter. I have one thing that I apologize that I forgot to mention to the audience, which is you guys out there can ask a question using the question tab there on your interface at any time.
That would be great.
And we'll collect all the questions, and at the end, we'll hit all those for you. So just any time along the way you have a question, just type it in, and then we'll cover those at the end. I apologize for not saying that up front.
Thank you. Yeah, it'd be great to get your questions as we move along through the deck. So a few slides here just to talk about Virtual Contact Center from Five9 and the service that we provide and the integration into Skype. One of the things that we think a lot about is the omni-channel customer journey. And the word omni-channel is really an evolution of multi-channel. So if you think about customer service, you go all the way back to the 70s. We all used the phone. It was single channel, let your fingers do the walking and all that fun stuff. In the 90s, with the web coming out, people started adding, companies started adding in the ability to communicate with customers on email, for example, or chat. So you could go out to a website and chat with an agent. But at that time, with the multi-channel, it was really up to the consumer to be their own information Sherpa, if you will, and carry their interactions from channel to channel. So they had to keep track of what they did on previous channels, and if you went to the IVR, for example, after sending an email, you were going to deal with a fixed menu in the IVR. When you got to an agent, that agent might know who you are, but they definitely weren't going to know that you had sent an email recently, and they weren't going to pick up where you left off. It was going to be a start over. So omni-channel is a way to describe this idea of taking the context of the information from the interaction with the consumer and making sure that it's available at each point of the journey. So in the example of the email that got sent and then the IVR interaction, the IVR might say, are you calling in about in regards to the email that you just sent previously? And it would whisk you away to a service agent, and that service agent would hopefully have the email and be able to kind of pick up where you left off. Hopefully, in an omni-channel environment, this is how we'd like to design things with the Five9 service. The agent would have all that information and would even be the right person. So it might be a tier 2 person in support, for example, that was going to pick up where that email left off. And we have some natural language processing to do that. What we're looking at here is a customer journey that goes across multiple channels. This is actually a purchase. And what I want to draw your attention to is the Skype logo at the end. So when the customer gets to the contact center agent, what they can do with the Skype integration is that the agent can actually reach into other parts of the business to get additional information. And Blair's got some good stats about how often this happens, but it's pretty frequent that agents in the contact center don't have everything that they need to solve that customer's problem on the very first interaction. And so what happens in a lot of contact centers is the agent, writes it on a sticky note, puts it on their monitor, and then they let their supervisor know that they have to get some additional information. The supervisor reaches out to somebody in the back office. That person responds via email, and there's a lot of opportunities there to not get back to the customer, certainly not in a timely way. So this is a slightly different view on how to build out an end-to-end customer journey. Obviously, if you want to provide an omni-channel customer journey, you need a solution that touches all these different elements. And so that's what Five9 has done. We've integrated the Five9 agent desktop into a variety of CRMs. Salesforce is the one that you can see the screenshot from here, but we've also integrated it into Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, Zendesk, NetSuite, ServiceNow, and others as well. And in fact, we have a toolkit that you can use to integrate into homegrown CRMs, and so, or we'll use to integrate into homegrown CRMs for you. And so really, regardless of what your CRM is, we have ways to connect to it. But quite a few of these are out of the box, and so it's about configuration and turning it on. We've also integrated into Skype, and that's what we're going to talk about through the course of this webinar. We've integrated into Verint and Calabrio this year and added that into the capabilities of the Five9 cloud. And in fact, for Verint, we're actually running their software in our cloud. And if you're not currently using Verint, we're happy to sell that to you. So really, we're bringing all of these different elements together inside of our cloud service, and then allowing you to configure these and turn them on for your particular operation. So this is getting into a couple of the screenshots just to kind of to show you what it looks like from the different roles. So on the left-hand side, we have an agent. On the right-hand side, we have a knowledge worker or an employee inside the business. The agent is using something there called the address book. We call it the enhanced address book when it's connected up to Skype for Business. And it has a number of capabilities. In an environment without Skype, it allows the agent to communicate to other agents in the contact center. It allows them to communicate with their supervisor. And in a Skype integrated environment, you can see the contacts from across the entire enterprise, and you can see their presence, and you have the ability to click to dial. So that's the agent experience, and I'll show you some more screenshots of what that looks like in just a second. From the knowledge worker perspective, or the folks inside the enterprise, they're just using Skype as normal. So it's the Skype interface, and they don't have any special contact center software running on their desktop. They're interacting with agents in the contact center similar to how they would interact with agents, with colleagues in other parts of the business. There's a number of capabilities that we added into the address book, or the enhanced address book. Being able to create contact groups is a great way to group skills together. So for example, if you have a accounts payable department that sometimes gets involved in customer calls or calls in your contact center, or other parts of billing, for example, is another good example. You can actually put all the folks that have that billing skill that are available at the contact center in a single group, so it makes it easier for the agents to find them. There's a lot of ways to filter. As you can see across the top here, you can set filters up so that you can filter based on role and the types of groups that you want, and even geographical location or by name. We pulled a presence in from Skype for Business, and so you can see who's available for an interaction at any given time. So if Doug gets up and goes to get a cup of coffee and ends up talking about the most recent baseball game by the water cooler a little too long, then he hasn't moved his mouse or his keyboard in a while, and his presence he'll become not present. And so the agent doesn't have to spend time going through every single person trying to find somebody that's available. They can just click on the person that's present. And obviously, click to dial and click to chat are enabled here. And again, this is the tool that the agent would be using to reach out to other agents and supervisors, and now it's extended into the rest of the enterprise. This is a example of our integration into Salesforce. So this is Salesforce Lightning. It's their new UI. And what you can see here in the lower left-hand corner is the agent desktop from Five9. We have, in all cases, we integrate with CRMs. We actually do it in a joint way. So our design folks actually got together with design folks at Salesforce in this case, and made sure that we created something that was going to fit well into this environment. You can see a number of different things that related to the customer journey that I talked to, recommended action, outcomes and personas, so that the agent knows who they're talking to if they have a particular persona. This could be like a value to the company. It could be like a gold, platinum type of a persona, or it could be another type of persona if you have both consumer customers and business customers, for example. Could be that. And then outcomes shows, it's like a series of triggers, if you will, through a customer journey. And as the customer goes through various trigger points, the outcome starts to become clear, and you can see how far they've gotten along inside of that journey for whatever that happens to be, and that gets configured when the system gets set up. But the idea here, I think it becomes clear, is that the agent then has all the context that they need with the CRM and all the information that's in there about the customer, and then the agent desktop from Five9. They have everything that they need to create that omni-channel customer journey. And from within this, when they want to make a phone call out to somebody or get another contact, they're able to launch the address book, and it's an integrated part of that experience. This is a screenshot from Engagement Cloud. We support Service Cloud and Engagement Cloud. And you can see that some of the capabilities are similar. The look and feel is relatively similar just from a button layout, but then we try and optimize it. In this case, we've got a strip up here at the top that can be used for basic things, and then you can pull up the full interface. And again, we've done this for a number of different CRMs, and even your homegrown CRMs can be supported. Cool. So with that in mind, I'd like to switch gears now and talk to Corey a little bit about his experience. Corey, are you there?
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
Good.
Cool. So we talked a little bit, obviously, before this, and Amsurg is a really interesting business. I was wondering if you could take a little bit of time and let the audience know about Amsurg, kind of what you guys do, and what's the purpose of the contact center. What types of inquiries do your agents get, and who are they dealing with, and kind of what are the problem sets that they're typically dealing with?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So Amsurg is we partner with physician groups or physicians to help them run their ambulatory surgery centers. So we've got around 260 plus centers across the U.S., varying from GI to multi-specialty, ophthalmology, all kinds of such stuff. So it kind of varies greatly what we get on a day-to-day basis. So some of the things that we see when people call in, a lot of times it's a patient. So we have a billing center that handles billing for about 30% of our business, of our centers. So patients call in to pay their bills, and they either need to pay them over the phone or set the payment plan or figure out what their options are. We also have centers calling in to help. We help them do insurance verification, some refunds, things like that. And we also have our service desk on the contact center doing regular IT support for all of our corporate offices across the U.S.
Okay, great. So it's a sizable operation that you have there.
Yeah, we've got several locations.
And using it in different fashions, it sounds like, across your different contact center. I want to talk in some more detail about the capabilities and some of the rollout things, but maybe so the audience can understand where you're coming from a journey perspective, you can talk about what you had identified in terms of gaps or things that you needed to improve or wanted to improve as you went off of your old system onto the new system.
Yeah, sure. So we were previously hosting a solution on-premise, and found that it wasn't meeting some of our needs around reporting. So a lot of our supervisors were having difficulty getting the information they needed to be able to properly forecast and provide metrics for their agents. So a lot of it was around that. And then kind of the added benefit was when we moved to 5.9, we were able to reclaim all of that on-prem infrastructure and repurpose that for other needs.
That's good. What did you have any? What other gaps did you have from I think we talked about it, supervisors. And what
so sure. Yeah, some of the things previously before we were on 5.9, they didn't really have very much visibility into what their agents were currently dealing with. So we didn't really have a great way to see call metrics in real time. So there wasn't really a method for knowing what calls were holding, what areas they might need to push agents to kind of provide some backup. If there was a specific area that was getting, overwhelmed, they couldn't really, they didn't really know without walking around and talking to the agents, which is sometimes not possible. Everybody's really busy all the time, so.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be
5.9.
A real issue, because if you don't know what's happening, it can be really difficult to make improvements on the operation. Without good statistics, then it's tough to know what's working well, what's not working well, and if you don't know that, you can't make steps to improve the patient service.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think like a lot of businesses of your size, and you did this in phases. Can you talk a little bit about how you decided to roll out the service to your agents, and how that went, and how you decided to introduce this new technology to the folks that were going to use it inside your contact center?
Yeah, sure. So we decided to start with our service desk just because typically they are the most tech-savvy group that we have, and they unfortunately get to be the guinea pig a lot of times whenever we roll out new stuff. So they were our first wave, and we did about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of testing with them before we rolled it out to, we've got 2 main call centers, one in Nashville and then one in West Palm, Florida. And so we rolled it out to our Nashville location next as phase 2, and then phase 3 we went to West Palm and rolled it out there as well. So we've got somewhere around 110 agents on a given month, something like that.
Okay, good. And people are using it. I think they like it, right? You told me that it's going pretty well. What was your experience from both from an administration perspective in terms of the system and using it, and then it'd be great to get your feel from the agent's experience as well.
Sure, yeah. So from an admin perspective, you basically have control of just about everything. So there is a ton of configuration that you can do if you choose to. But on the same side, it's very intuitive. So we sat down with our implementation team, and we were able to get working right away, right after we, just had our kickoff call. So we had a kickoff call, and we're able to start working pretty much the next week with our implementation team on developing the call flows and all that kind of stuff. From an agent perspective, the only thing I really have to compare it to is our previous system, which we had a ton of support cases with. So there were several instances where we would have to, go in and fiddle with things to try and make it work. And there was a lot of issues around transferring calls where the agents weren't able to easily transfer a call to a supervisor or, another third party that was going to need to be engaged in the call. Whereas now it's pretty self-explanatory. So we don't have nearly the complaints that we did before. Obviously, with change comes some resistance, but I think we developed a really good plan around training and being there to help the agents whenever we went live, that that was really minimized. So we didn't have any major pushback or anything like that. It was all pretty well adopted.
Cool. Yeah, and so we'll talk about training in just a second, but it's good to hear that the number of support tickets from your perspective has gone down, because that means they're using it more effectively, and obviously then you can focus on other ways to improve what's going on there from an IT perspective. In terms of the Skype for Business integration itself, what did the agents think about that?
You know, we set it up really early on and worked with some really great people over at Five9 to get that set up. On the configuration side, it's very, very simple. There's a few things that we had to do on our Skype for Business server just to allow the integration to happen, and then inside Five9,
okay,
the administrative console, it was really easy. But from an agent perspective, you know, it's all one pane of glass, is what I like to say. So it's very easy for them to find either another agent that they're working with, or if they need to interact with a third party like a supervisor or somebody in a different department for whatever reason. You know, if they need to reach out to somebody in finance to see what can be done for a patient, then that's very easy for them. And I think the thing I like is the third-party people they're reaching out to don't have to have anything special, so they don't have to be on Five9 to be able to interact with the agents in that manner. So it's a pretty seamless experience.
That's great. Yeah, having this single environment really helps a lot, both with agent training and adoption of the technology. Sitting behind agents in that contact center, which I've done quite a bit of in my life, is always interesting. And you know, in a lot of environments, they'll have lots and lots of screens. I think the industry average used to be 17 different types of UIs, just because of the way that the technology functioned. But having all that kind of rolled up seems to help quite a bit as with the agents. And of course, agents don't always hang around forever. And so when you get new staff in, it's a lot easier to bring them on board if you've got something that's intuitive and easy to use. So you've mentioned the implementation a couple of times. How did it go? What was your experience with working with the Five9 team? Did you guys, what sort of hiccups did you run into to help the audience out with the types of things that they might want to think about ahead of time to make the implementation go smoothly? And just your experiences overall would be great.
Yeah, sure. So I think the implementation went really, really well. I think we had our kickoff in February, and in April we were taking calls. So it was a pretty quick turn up from my point of view. I would say that the communication from Five9 was really, really good. We had lots of clear lines of communication. Everybody knew what everything was going on. The implementation team from Five9 was really experienced and knew exactly what to ask and all of that. But we didn't really have any major hiccups whatsoever or anything like that. Everything was resolved usually within about 3 days. So there wasn't anything that was, a huge barrier or anything like that. We didn't have to do any major upgrades to any of our infrastructure or anything like that to make anything happen. It was all pretty seamless.
That's great to hear. It's always nice when things go smoothly. But we all know sometimes they don't. So, so we talked about one of the gaps with the supervisors around the reporting, and so how did that improve as you rolled the new system out? What did the supervisors what do they like about the system?
So previously, if the supervisor wanted to report, like a call log report or something like that, they had to come to IT, and IT would develop that report, and then they would send it over to them. But now they have the ability to log in to Five9 and customize the report as to suit their needs, and they can schedule it to be delivered to email once a day, once a week, once a month, whatever they need. So from their perspective, they've been given a lot more control over what they see as their data. And from an IT perspective, it makes me super happy because it's one less thing I have to try and figure out how to do in a day. I think the other thing that they like is the supervisor console. So like I said before, they didn't really have any visibility, but now they have unbelievable visibility into what their agents are facing, whether there's a high call volume and if they need to take action and, send an IM to one of their agents and say, hey, you're going to start taking, this type of call, they can immediately switch them over and pop them into that other queue so that it's not a big deal, so that, it minimizes the wait times for patients and stuff like that. Because that's really what it's all about, providing a better experience for our patients.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. And so the wait times for the patients is something that you probably started keeping track of since the system got put in. Do you have any visibility into that?
Yeah, of course. I can't say for sure because it's tough to say because we didn't have great visibility into our previous system what it was like. But I can say we don't have long wait times now. I'll say that.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody's busy, so when you call in and you've got,
right.
And I've noticed that patient claims in particular, being on that side of it, it can be kind of stressful and it can be complicated as well. So it's kind of nice to be able to talk to somebody faster rather than having to sit on hold for a long period of time. So agent training, you mentioned that a couple of times when we were speaking. Can you talk a little bit more about what you did to get the agents trained up? And I'm actually going to pull up a brochure, part of a brochure that you guys used with the agents to help train them while you talk about kind of what you did to get the agents up to speed. And you mentioned that you rolled it out to different groups. But just tell the audience a little bit about how that training went so that they could maybe replicate it or learn from it when they make the move.
Yeah, sure. So we have some great project managers on our side that were able to work with me and the Five9 team to develop some really amazing documentation that we were able to give the agents when we did their training. So like I mentioned earlier, we did it in different phases. So phase one, we had our service desk where it wasn't nearly this fine-tuned as you can see now, but we were able to take what we learned from the service desk and develop that and have that available to our subsequent waves. I think a lot of it was we did several training sessions. So each phase probably got, 2 or 3 different training sessions that the agents were able to attend. So if they needed to come back and attend an additional session and they felt like they weren't ready or whatever, that was really, really easy. Another thing that we did, at the recommendation of Five9, is we turned on all of their accounts a little early. So before their actual go live, we made all of the Five9 training materials and videos available to them and encouraged them to watch and kind of go in and play with the system so they could see what they were getting into and all that. I think that helped a lot, was being able to get into the system before go live and play with it, look at it, and watch all those videos that you guys have put together. They're really, 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 I like them a lot because they're not big 30-minute long chunks. They're 2 to 3 minutes, and they cover very specific things that the agents have to deal with. So those were really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Good description of that. Really appreciate it. My wife and I talk about phone anxiety. She doesn't like calling people. She has less anxiety if the phone starts ringing, but as an agent, you've already got that kind of going on. You're going to have somebody talking to you that's got an issue of some sort. They might be upset, and so feeling comfortable with the tools ahead of time is a good step so that their comfort level is high when the system goes on. They can focus on that patient rather than on clicking the buttons.
Exactly.
So we've covered a number of different areas. I wanted to give you an opportunity to cover off any of the sort of things that benefited you guys using the Five9 system that maybe we haven't spoken about up until this point.
Yeah, sure. So the one thing that really comes to mind that I think was really powerful for us was the ability to interact with in-house APIs from Five9 and surface that information. So, for example, a patient calls in and they have the opportunity to put in an account number. It sends that account number over to our system, queries the database basically, and pulls up the relevant information about that patient, so their name and what address they live, all the stuff that an agent would normally have to ask for to get the call started is then presented to the agent when the call comes in. So instead of the agent having to fumble and say, oh, can you give me your name? Oh, no, I need the account number, not that account number, the other one, and go through that whole rigmarole, they have the information they need at the time the person comes into the queue. So I think that's really powerful for our agents, and it's pretty magical for them when it works.
That's great. And how was it from using those APIs and et cetera? Was it difficult to get the data pulled out and put into the agent desktop?
No, not at all. I mean, we have HTTPS encrypted web. It's just a RESTful web call. That's really all it is. So we made all of it, those web services publicly available, accessible outside of our intranet, and in Five9, just send the relevant information over and pull it back in and display it. It was pretty seamless. I know I keep saying seamless, but that's the word that keeps coming to mind.
Yeah. It's way different than it used to be. I'll tell you, I used to work on systems where we'd be scraping green screens, the old terminal things, and try and pull data off of those. So the RESTful APIs have helped a lot, and having the services out of the cloud, I think, helps, because it's all based on this new technology, and it's just easier to get to things.
Right.
So one last question here for you. Anything else you'd like to add about why you recommend Five9, or your experience with the company or the team or the products for the audience out there?
Sure. Yeah, I think the thing that I would recommend the most is the thing that has impacted me the most from a systems admin is the level of support we receive if we do have any sort of issue. We enrolled in y'all's TAM program, which is just a technical account manager. So he's our single point of contact for anything that may come up. So he doesn't just handle support issues. He's there for me and my team whenever we have a question about, hey, we're thinking about changing around this call flow. Is that a good idea? Do you have any recommendations? But if we do ever have any sort of support issue or anything like that, he's there kind of walking it through, making sure that we're getting the response that we need. And then he always keeps me abreast of any new changes that are coming down the road. So one of the things that has been really valuable to me in switching from an on-prem to a cloud-based solution is he's very communicative about maintenance windows and ongoing upgrades and things like that, and making sure I have plenty of time to communicate to the agents and the end users and say, hey, this is coming down the pipe in 3 months, 6 months, whatever, so that we're not caught off guard.
That's great to hear. I've heard similar things from other customers about the TAM and technical account manager and the role that they play. But it's great to hear that you're having a similar experience to that. Thank you so much, Corey, for the time that you spent with us. We're going to switch gears now, and we'd like to throw one more poll up, if we can, Peter. So this one is around Skype for Business. So kind of to get a feel from the audience, are you currently using Skype for Business? First one here is no, but investigating it. Second is yes, we are using it, but we're not currently using it in our contact center. And then the third is yes, and we are using Skype for Business, and we're also using it in our contact center. So Blair, I'll be unoriginal, and I'll ask you the same question I asked you before. What do you think? Or Corey, you can weigh in here too. Given the title of this webinar and the people that are attending, what do you think the results are going to be? There's no wrong answers, since we have no possible knowing this.
Yeah, I kind of got it wrong last time, but so I think we're going to see more people who are using Skype for Business, but not yet in their contact center, at least That's what I would assume. Or there might be people investigating it. And hopefully more and more, next year will be people who are using it in their contact center also. But so
that's cool. Yeah, I tend to think that is what we're going to see as well. And the answer is, aha! No, but investigating it 23%. Yes, but not in our contact center 69%. And yes, including in our contact center 8%. So this is what a great way to tee up your section, Blair, because now you can talk about all the reasons why they might want to consider using Skype for Business as part of their contact center operation.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, Darryl. So I'm going to build on what Darryl and Corey talked about and talk about some enhanced or advanced things that you can do by integrating Skype for Business with cloud contact center solutions like Five9. And let me make sure my screen is showing. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep, that looks great. Yep.
Okay, so we live in an age of instant gratification. We don't like waiting, whether it's waiting at a red light, waiting for food to be prepared, or waiting on hold. And when it comes to customer care, we want our questions answered and our issues resolved quickly and efficiently. And we all know that today it's really all about the customer experience. We keep hearing that term over and over. And for a good customer experience, you need to focus on quick issue resolution and issue resolution on the first contact, and also having friendly and knowledgeable agents. And according to this Microsoft study, the most important element of a satisfying customer experience is quick issue resolution, followed by issue resolution on the first contact, or what we call first contact resolution. And this isn't new. We've been talking about first call or first contact resolution for years, or at least I know I have. But we still haven't found a way to ensure quick issue resolution. And as you can see here, there's a definite correlation between customer satisfaction and whether or not the issue is resolved during the first call. And according to the CFI Group's 2017 Contact Center Satisfaction Index study, only 54% of callers said that their issue was resolved with the first representative they spoke to. And they also found that customer satisfaction falls as the number of agents needed to resolve the issue increases. And they also found that there's a 28-point gulf in satisfaction between those whose issue was resolved on the first call and those who weren't as lucky. Also, first call resolution is highly correlated to customers' future behaviors and customer loyalty. The same CCSI study found that customers' loyalty to a company decreased by 8 points if the second call was needed, and their likelihood to recommend the company also drops by 8 points when the issue isn't resolved the first time and when a second call is needed. And when issues are resolved in the first 5 minutes of the first contact, customers are generally highly satisfied. But if it takes 6 to 10 minutes, then customer sat drops by 7 to 8 points, and it continues dropping steadily as more time passes. What this really means is that it's so important to find ways to resolve your customers' issues quickly and on the first call. But that's not always possible, and that's not always the case. In most cases, contact centers do have the information. The agents are knowledgeable, and they have the information that they need to provide an answer or to resolve an issue when a customer calls in or contacts them. But we found that over 10% of all telephone calls handled by contact center agents do require some sort of assistance from subject matter experts in different parts of the organization. So, for example, an agent may need to reach out to a product specialist to answer a technical question about a product, or to someone in marketing about a new promotion. There are lots of examples about this. A claims adjuster might need help with a call about an insurance claim, or a financial expert who's helping a customer with a bank loan may need to talk to a commercial loan specialist, or a sales engineer helping a customer with a technical question may need to talk to the product manager. And there are lots and lots of examples of this. usually what happens when the agent doesn't have the information that they need, they either put the customer on hold or tell the customer that they'll call them back after they get the information. But in that time, the customer may go to a competitor instead. Then after researching and getting the information, the agent would have to call the customer back, but by then it might be too late. And the result is, really long calls and multiple customer interactions, which is not only, expensive for the organization, but it's really frustrating for the customer. Reducing that time that it takes to resolve a customer's issue can save contact centers thousands, or in some cases even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, a similar thing is taking place on the digital side. And these days, if a customer or consumer has a question or needs support or want to buy something, they generally start their journey on the company's website. And this is great, but most businesses don't really have good visibility into a customer's digital or web experience. And when a customer can't find the information that they need, or if they're stuck on a web page and they need help before making a purchase, they're either going to give up, which means an abandoned shopping cart, or they'll reach out to a contact center agent to get more help or information. And that means it's just as important to provide a good customer experience when the customer is on your website as when they call into your contact center. Without visibility into the digital customer journey to see where the customer was browsing on your website and where they were having issues or problems when trying to buy something or to get information, your contact center agents can't resolve the customer's issues as quickly and effectively as they should. So if a customer is looking at a product that they want to buy, but then has a problem making the actual purchase for whatever reason, or they want additional information before pressing the purchase button, it's really important that your agents can help them before the customer gives up and goes to a competitor's website. So what's the answer? The solution to all of this is what I call real-time resolution. Giving agents the tools that they need to help customers resolve their issues and get their questions answered or make their purchases in real time while they're on the phone or digitally interacting with an agent lets companies improve the customer experience, reduce costs, and increase revenues. And that obviously is the goal for pretty much every contact center that I talk to. And using the tools that provide real-time resolution also shows your customers that you respect them and you care about their needs. You respect their time. And reducing the time that it takes to get their issues resolved is really important to customers. And this real-time resolution improves the customer experience, which in turn increases customer satisfaction. And with UC capabilities from Skype for Business and also with cloud-based contact center tools like Darryl talked about, it's really possible to make real-time resolution a reality these days. And there are basically two ways that Five9 is helping customers provide real-time resolution. And the first is by integrating with Skype for Business to let agents quickly and easily identify and reach out to subject matter experts. So that they can respond to customer questions while the customer is still on the phone or still on the line. And they can even have the subject matter expert speak with the customer directly if they need to. And by reaching out in real time to these subject matter experts outside of the contact center who have the information that the agents need, the agent can answer the customer's questions or resolve their issues while they're still engaged with them. And now, using Skype for Business UC tools like Presence and Instant Messaging, when an agent needs to get additional information to answer a customer's question, they can use Presence to see which subject matter experts are available, and then just send them a quick IM, and quick instant message to ask the available agent for the information that they need while the agent is still on the call with the customer. And this lets the customer service agents identify and connect with the right expert to answer the customer's questions in real time while they're still engaging with the customer. The second way to provide real-time resolution is through proactive web engagement, which Darryl talked about, and which is all about proactively assisting the customer while they're browsing and searching your website to purchase something or to get support. Now, here's a typical scenario of using subject matter experts to help the agent resolve the customer's issue in real time. So we've got Kate, the customer, who's interested in buying a smart thermostat. So she calls a company, let's call it smartshopper.com, to find out if it works with her BlackBerry phone. Yes, she still has a BlackBerry phone. So she contacts the agent, but Monique, the agent, doesn't know the answer because no one's asked about BlackBerries before. Monique tells the customer, I need to research that. Let me call you back when I find the information. But Monique doesn't know who to contact to get the information, so she tries Bob. Now, Bob isn't in the office, so Monique leaves him a voice message, and then 2 hours later, Bob gives Monique the information, and Monique calls Kate back. But in the meantime, Kate went to a competitor's website, got the information she needed, and ordered the smart thermostat from them. So Smart Shopper lost a potential customer because the agent couldn't answer the customer's question, and it took too long for her to get the information. Now let's look at the same scenario, but where the company uses Skype for Business and Five9 Contact Center. So Kate, the customer, calls with a question that Monique, the agent, can't answer. But this time, Monique checks her Five9 address book that Darryl talked about, and she sees that Mike, the expert, is on the smart thermostat product team. So while she's still on the phone with Kate, Monique looks on her Skype for Business client and sees that Mike is available, and she sends him an instant message asking whether the smart thermostat works for the BlackBerry device. Mike sees the question in his Skype for Business IM chat window and tells Monique that, yes, the thermostat does work with BlackBerries. Monique is able to give Kate the information without having to call her back or do anything, and that makes Kate really happy. But then Kate realizes that she has a more technical question about the smart thermostat, so Monique conferences in Mike, the expert, using Skype for Business, and then Mike can talk directly to Kate and answer her questions. This way, Kate gets the information she needs, and she's able to finalize the purchase with Monique. Now, I've actually been talking and writing about the concept of reaching out to subject matter experts outside of the contact center for many, many years. But this was really back in the CTI days, before we had cloud communications, before we had Skype for Business and UC tools with presence and chat or IM capabilities. So now today, it's really great that by integrating Cloud Contact Center with UC tools, the idea of breaking down the walls of the contact center and bringing in subject matter experts to solve customers' issues in real time is finally becoming a reality. And one of the issues in the past has always been how to find and identify the right experts. Contact center agents didn't know who to reach out to for different issues. But now with things like Five9's address book, the agent can find the experts based on their group or role and view their present status on the agent desktop. And this way, the agent can search for the right expert by group or role, see their present status, and then reach out to only those experts who are available. So having UC, Skype for Business and Contact Center, Five9, integrated together really does make it easier for agents to find the right subject matter expert and reach out to them using IM. And then even bring them into a voice or video call or do desktop sharing if needed. The other way I mentioned to provide real-time resolution is through what we call real-time proactive web engagement and journey analytics. And with this, companies can turn their customers' web experiences into real-time interactions using web engagement, omni-channel, and customer journey analytics tools. And web engagement tools are really useful when customers are browsing a company's website and agents can proactively help in real time. So for example, Five9's preview chat agent can see what the customer is doing in real time when they move from page to page. And then also companies can build rules and analytics so that at any point in time, the agent can reach out to the customer to interact. The customers can get personalized responses in real time while they're on the web page. And they can also have a web chat or even a web video or a screen sharing session with the agent if they need to. And this way, the agent can see what the customer is doing in real time. And just like with the phone interactions that we talked about, the agent can use Skype for Business and the Five9 address book to bring in those subject matter experts to better help the customer. And also using customer journey information, the agent can see where the customer might need help, or if maybe they're hesitating while they're in the middle of shopping or trying to purchase something. So here's another example. Let's go back to Kate, the customer. So Kate is browsing a company, Smart Shopper's website on how to set up her new smart thermostat. She clicks on an FAQ to read the instructions, and then a proactive chat message pops up on her screen. And it says, thank you for your purchase of our new smart thermostat. Can I help you with your setup? Would you like to chat? So Kate accepts the chat from Monique, the agent, and she asks about integrating the thermostat with her BlackBerry. And like in the previous scenario, Monique, the agent, isn't sure how to do that, so she looks up a product manager from the Five9 address book and again reaches Mike, the expert, using Skype for Business. And Mike provides the information that she needs, and Monique is able to get the information to Kate and answer Kate's question. And also, this time, because they're on the website, Monique offers to escalate the chat to a video session for Kate, and then helps Kate finish setting up her smart thermostat. So you can see that this really helps make things go faster and more smoothly. So to sum it up, using Skype for Business with the Five9 Contact Center lets companies provide this real-time resolution in a couple different ways. And the agent can provide real-time resolution by bringing in a subject matter expert who can interact with the agent, or even the customer using chat, voice, maybe even screen sharing or video if needed. And then going one step further with customer journey analytics, the agent can see the full customer engagement history and the customer's previous journeys on email and then maybe even social and other channels before having the chat with the customer, so that the agent can proactively reach out to the customer while they're searching in real time on the company's website. And this way the agent knows what the customer's been looking at on the website, and also about other interactions that the customer has had, so they can be more informed when speaking with the customer. And this all helps to increase customer satisfaction, decrease the number of abandoned shopping carts on the company's website, and also increase the number of upsell opportunities. And all of this leads to increased revenues and the company's bottom line. And what I like to say is, why settle for first contact resolution when you can have real-time resolution? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa for some Q&A. And Teresa, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
There is one question, Blair, that I thought I'd want to turn over to you, since we only have 3 minutes left. Let's prioritize this one and let the audience know that we'll be sending out a really detailed video on our Skype for Business integration and some other materials, so keep an eye out for that. Question to you, Blair, is are there any best practices for reaching out to subject matter experts like those that you discussed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing I can think of is try to be short and sweet when you're interacting with these agents. Get to the with the subject matter experts. Get to the point and don't take too much of the expert's time. Also, try not to use the same expert all the time, and unless it's okay with them and you have a good relationship with them, because you don't want them to feel that this is impacting their ability to get their other work done. Also, one thing we find is that sometimes this is really a cultural change more than a technical issue, and businesses really need to make it clear that everyone in the organization has a role to play when it comes to customer care and helping to give customers a great experience. And this whole culture change and this idea of everyone part of the contact center really needs to come from the top. So it needs to be part of that overall corporate culture that customer experience is a top priority and everyone needs to do their part.
Cool. So thank you, Blair. Great presentation, some really good information in there. I think we talked about agent empowerment.
Darryl, we actually have another question here. Another question. There's somebody wanted to know a little bit more detail about the actual integration issues that occur in integrating this with Skype for Business.
Oh, thank you, Peter. So I'm not sure we have enough time to cover the the details of the integration. What we can do, because we got a number of other questions that Teresa is looking at as well. What we can do is we'll respond back to all those questions, and we can engage with those folks one-on-one. So I was going to go ahead and wrap. I wanted to thank everybody for their time today. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. Hopefully you found this informative. As Teresa said, we'll be in touch via email, so there'll be some additional goodies coming your way to learn more about the different pieces that we have. Thank you so much, Blair, for your presentation. Corey, thank you for your time and the wonderful description of what it was like to deploy the Five9 service. Really enjoyed my time here today. I hope everybody else did as well, and I look forward to doing it again with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye, everybody.